Well, I wanted to introduce everybody to Amanda Goodman. She is a 3 times CrossFit Games competitor as an individual, once as a team member, if I'm not mistaken, and also a member of the United States Functional Fitness National Team. Am I right?
Yes.
All right. So first things first, I need a little background check because I know you were a gymnast in college, but I want to know more about your athletic career. Like, how did you transition from being a collegiate gymnast to becoming a professional CrossFit athlete?
Yeah, it kind of all just happened by accident. I was working at a gymnastics facility after competing, and I was trying to get into fitness, and there happened to be a CrossFit gym like next door.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I went in there to try to work actually.
Yeah.
Uh, and then like most people, they put me through my first workout being Fran.
All right. That's awesome.
Yep, and they I mean, according to everybody else, it went well. It was horrible for me, like usually, like most people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but then yeah, they brought me, the owner, who was my first coach. He brought me into the office and was like, "Hey, we compete," and that's really kind of all I heard or understood at that time.
Yeah.
I just remembered what competition was like, in college and my earlier years, and I just loved that. So yeah, that just kind of dragged me in, and then I just rode the wave.
Oh wow. Wow, it's been a while. You've been riding the wave for a while, which
Yeah.
leads me to my first question. CrossFit is very popular among athletes. Like many people just want to train to go to the games, right? But once they see, especially newcomers, once they see what actually goes into training to become a CrossFit athlete, they fall off the wagon. The volume, the nutrition, the psychological burden, it's a lot. And there's only but a few of you who've actually managed to do it for a long time. And many of you agree that having fun in training is the key to staying in it for the long run. So I want to know, how do you make it fun? What's there to love about the maddening routine of a CrossFit athlete?
Yeah, so I think what the beauty of CrossFit is that it is mixed modal, right? There are so many different pieces to improve upon. And yes, you need a good average, right? To be good
Yeah.
at those pieces, right? You need to be good average across all of those domains. Um, but yeah, right? And we all have our strengths. So yeah, it's just that practice of, can I actually get better at my strengths, and how much can I get better at the things that I'm not necessarily made for, right?
Yeah.
Because those are just small pieces, but you have to recognize them.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And something that goes hand in hand with being a competitive CrossFitter is the injuries, right? Well, in any sport, injuries are a major stressor. But I feel like in CrossFit, once you become a full-time athlete, it can be even worse because CrossFit doesn't do a great job of protecting their athletes in the face of injuries or parenthood or any other unforeseen circumstances. So I want to know, what kind of role have injuries had on your journey as a CrossFit athlete?
Oh man, yeah, injuries have been part of the process. Um, it it kind of for me, it's allowed me to enjoy the process a little bit more, right? Just seeing different sides of it. I have been, let's see, I would say I've had about 3 major injuries.
Yeah.
And I think they were all in my shoulders.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, both shoulders. Um, One had nothing to do with CrossFit. The other two were just overuse, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I got injured after my first year of the games, and just wanting to get back to the games to improve upon that. I was a lot younger as well, so I had the time. Um, well, I'm like, my body also healed quicker, but
Yeah,
yeah,
true.
right? But like, yeah, I just had the time to I spent every day like 30 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes, maybe even sometimes an hour, just warming up, doing all my rehab and stuff, and just every week. I want to say maybe for like 2 years, I was on like a standing appointment with my PT like every week.
Wow.
you know, so it's just constant maintenance. But when you see the other side of it, you know, you appreciate those injuries, and you appreciate the improvements that you've made.
Yeah, I can only imagine it's kind of frustrating for you, because especially for me, when I started following your progress, it's like, okay, 2013, 35th, got cut. 2014, top 20, awesome. 2015, top 10, okay, it's coming. And then there's like this disconnect. How do you stay focused and in the process and never consider quitting? You know, like other athletes in your position would probably be like, ah, man, screw this is too much. But you're still in it, and it's been 8 years for now. Like, it's amazing. I want to know what goes on in your mind.
Yeah, so 2015, you know, clearly we'll call it peaked.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, and we have to think about the other factors, right? I did end up getting injured after 2015, and I was also doing grid. You know, so I did a lot. I did grid for 2014 and 15 while also competing and training at the games. I don't regret doing those things, right? They were amazing things, and they're the reason I am who I am today, right? So that pushed me out for at least a year. So I sat out intentionally 2016, just worked my way back, just kind of focused right on, I think that point was like I had realized, you know, top 10 potential.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
So I was like, well, can I get back to at least that, right? And then see what that was. And then I had an unfortunate accident about a year after that. I got into a car accident.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I separated my AC joint. And my leg, I just had stitches, like staples, nothing bad in my leg. I just lost skin.
Yeah. Oh, well, no, that's not bad. That sounds great.
Yeah, but the problem was I couldn't like bend my knee fully.
Yeah, okay.
For like 2 weeks. So that pushed me back a whole nother year.
Okay, all right. Now I'm connecting the dots. All right.
Yeah, so no, I'm not, and I'm sure, as you can imagine, or maybe this is what you're trying to kind of get out of me, is just like, right, during that year, I didn't want to be super public about those things. The first year was I was just doing my thing. You know, I had a slight injury. I didn't really have any shame or anything around it.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, I've done great things. I overworked myself. This is what happens,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
That's it.
True. Yep.
And for me, that goal was like I said, testing. Okay, can I come back? And then I got hit by the car.
That's crazy. Okay. I mean, wow, imagine.
Yeah, so that just like, right? It was just like all this progress that I just made, I have to do again, you know? And then of course, relating that to competition wise, it was just like, you know, yeah, it's just like everybody's moving forward and I'm just sitting here. So it wasn't necessarily a great spot mentally.
I can say, yeah.
I would say that year. But yeah, I still wanted to just I was like, I had that previous goal. I still am kind of in the realm of, as far as like age wise, I can play the game. So I decided to continue. They had the regionals and, or the last regionals.
2018, yeah.
Yeah, which I qualified for. I felt pretty fit. They brought it back up to altitude, which we trained for. But, no excuses or anything. But, from what I've heard is our region on some of those events, we had significantly slower scores relative to other regions. So it's possible the altitude played an effect.
Oh, 333 in the altitude. Oh my God, Jesus Lord.
And then that 333,
That workout sucks by itself. Like, imagine doing it in altitude. But yeah, still, like, it was a shocker to me, because I remember looking for you purposely, like, where is this girl? She was amazing. Like, what is so now, because you didn't say anything on social media. CrossFit HQ never made a piece or an interview. I'm not gonna get into that, but and I'm like, what is going on? Now, what happened? So yeah, thank you so much for sharing this information. I feel a lot better now because now I see like what something actually happened. It wasn't like all of a sudden I'm not fit anymore. I suck at this. Okay, now I get it. It makes sense.
I mean, I would argue, I wouldn't say that I didn't think those things,
No,
right? Like I
yeah,
would,
but
yeah,
no, no,
if
no,
that's
not at
what
all. I mean, at least from like I'm not biased at all, so I can tell you right now that has nothing to do with it because, I mean, I'm telling you, well, anyone who's followed you or who knows you knows your strengths. There's just this one flaw that you have in your, let's say, your athletic capacity, but that's about it because otherwise you're. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, let me just chill. I'm getting too excited. All right. I wanted to ask you about overtraining. It seems like you've had experience with overtraining syndrome then, and you've had symptoms of it, or you've experienced it burning out and just feeling like I don't want to do this anymore. I'm just suddenly underperforming.
Um, yeah, a little bit. Well, it was yeah, just
The wear and
I
tear.
mean, yeah, it was just being in the going from so many competitions, which is like what I wanted, right? Like all I wanted to compete, and I still just want to compete. Like I love competing. I love, right, like that it's just a way of expressing myself,
Mm.
really. That's what it all kind of does for me. And then it's even better if you get to compete against, the best in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like I wanted to compete so much, and I did, and I got the opportunities, and I took every single one of them. But yeah, it was so many reps. It was just
CrossFit
so.
is freaking terrible. Like if you're doing so much work, also the training, doesn't matter how much you're recovering, your nutrition, whatever, like it's a lot. It can be a lot. And you're also a very explosive athlete. Like you can do your work capacity allows you to just do more. So if you're doing more, it's just it's too much intensity too often. So it makes sense that that could happen. Also, when you're young, it happens more often too. So what would
Yeah.
you recommend younger athletes to try and stay away from overtraining? What would you recommend?
One, get a coach. You know. Two, you'd learn from our mistakes, right? It's just again, right? I experienced these things, but we were also the first ones, like we were the
Exactly.
first ones out there, and I was excited to do it, and it was my shot at potentially being a professional athlete or even building a platform for that.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm not mad at it, and if that's something that you want to do, yeah, learn from our mistakes, see what we've done, see all those things, and understand that, right? As much as you want to do it all, you can't, not
You
at the same time.
shouldn't.
Not at the same time, right? Like not all at
Exactly.
once. Just
Exactly.
not
Yeah.
all at once.
No, the body, yeah. I mean, you have to listen to your body, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But it's true what you say that you were like the first, well, maybe, well, yeah, the first actual generation because like your coach OPT, like he agree, like that first wave of CrossFit athletes has nothing to do with the second wave. Like the amount of training you guys have gone through has nothing to do with what people were doing in 2007, and it has nothing to do with what you do today. So it's just a different story. But I agree that the younger athletes or the newcomers to the sport should listen to these kind of things and be like, oh, okay, so I'm not going to get ahead of myself and I'm going to hold my horses real quick. All right, so the next question I wanted to ask you, and this is I don't know what I want to know what you think about this. When you train with someone, you push harder. We all know that, it's no secret, but it's a double-edged sword because if you do it too often you can induce high levels of stress both physically and mentally. So I think it's important to learn how to find that extra gear training by yourself as well as when you're training against another person. So I want to know, how do you do that in training? How have you been doing that for the past 8 years?
I've had so many different variations of training with groups, co-ed groups, just, all women, completely by myself. So yeah, I do, yeah, most people enjoy training with the others. It definitely brings the energy up. The important thing is really just, and it transfers directly over to competition, right? It's really just staying in your own lane. And if you're able to take that, you know, on the days when nobody actually shows up, right? Your level, right? When people show up, you might be up here, and people don't show up, you might be here. But it's just really all about that mindset of just like, okay, staying in my own lane with this energy, and then staying in my own lane with this energy.
Yeah.
Right. And just understanding that it moves, because that's how training is, right? Not every day is this.
Even amateurs know how it feels. Like one day you're just like all over the place, you're amazing, and the next day you feel like crap and nothing's going right, and you're like, what is happening? So it's cool that you guys go through that as well. Like, you're human, as we all are. So that's awesome. That, but it, like, in yours, for you guys, having a bad training day is different, maybe, because if it's your job, it's like, oh man, I'm not doing great at my job today. So that's kind of messed up. So I can only imagine it's different for you guys to actually deal with that underperforming on a certain day when you're maybe motivated to do that session, or you knew that the goals were this or that and you didn't reach them. So what do you say to yourself when you're underperforming on a particular situation? You're like, what do you do? What do you say to yourself?
I'm like, it depends on where I'm at, right? Like, relative into the season. But we'll say that it's always usually kind of the same process. It just how quickly the process goes through. It's usually, I'm slightly disappointed, you know, that I didn't meet my expectations, and then it's just it's either, right, if it's like closer to competition and everything's high stress, and you know, and you're wanting that perfection, then that process might take a little bit longer, and I might even need to reach out to my coach, like, hey, I had a crappy day, and then he'll like remind me of the trend, you know, because that's what's important.
Yeah. No, but that's absolutely right. Yeah. And also, you have an amazing coach to do that. Of course, that's why it's so important to have a good coach to keep you grounded and be like, hey, this is normal, chill, you'll be fine. Just let it happen. You need to, you know, get over the grief and the the pity party and all that. You'll be fine. Just chill.
Yes. But I'm definitely not perfect, and I definitely still judge myself, and but I do understand the process of just, it's always a little bit down, and then it's, remember, what are we actually doing here? What is the actual goal? What has the rest of my life looked like? Okay. And what can we do tomorrow? You know, how can we show up tomorrow, and what, you know, pick something. You don't have to win the day sometimes. You just have to pick something.
All right. That's absolutely true. Yeah. All right. So, in terms of Amanda Goodman as a CrossFit athlete, all right, we'll say there's three performing areas, major performing areas. That's the metabolic conditioning, the gymnastics, the weightlifting. Without a shadow of a doubt, you're one of the best in the world at barbell movements and high skill gymnastics. There's no question there.
Thank you.
But the aerobic capacity is something that has kept you, like, it's like you're all the way up here in those other two, but aerobic capacity is something that you try to work on for the past years. So I want to know, what do you find most challenging about working on your weaknesses to try to bring them up to par with your strengths?
I mean, I think the real answer of that challenge is time. Right? Like, if I could maintain or continue, you know, maintain my relative other pieces, right? If I could still maintain those relatively while improving enough in the aerobic piece, right? It's like the time domain for me to improve upon that might age me out.
Okay. No, that's true. But it's true because, all right, the cool thing about CrossFit, it's mixed modality. Awesome. But the thing is, you can't be like, okay, I'm not going to lift or do any gymnastics for a year, and all I'm going to do is run and bike and row and swim and all this. Like, that'd be ideal, right? But you're losing time. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So so how do you deal with that mentally? How do you be like, oh my God, I'm never going to be good enough to run a 5K in 15 minutes. I don't know what your markers are, but
how do you deal with that? You say, I'll never be good enough to run a 5K in 15 minutes, but if I run a 5K right now in 16 minutes, how close to that 15 minutes can I get? And what would be a realistic time frame to do that? And how realistic would it be while also training these other pieces if I still want to continue to compete in a mixed modal sport? You just pick and choose your battles a little differently. And as we know with CrossFit, it is kind of, what the workouts are as well. So, yeah, I don't see a reason why I shouldn't still play if I'm here on these. And even though, right, like if you, so, right, you talked about my finish placings at the games, right? They were 35th, 20th, 10th. If we want to get real analytical, if we look at just my single modality, like metabolic pieces, they do that too.
No, right? It's like, true. It's true.
Still, but unfortunately, they're not. Unfortunately, for me to compete against, the high level, it's not happening as quick as I want it to.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, I see that happen. Because, like, for example, in 2015, Murph, you came in 25th, which is amazing because, like in triple three the year before.
Thank you. I was like, that should be it right there. I was like,
give her the title, fittest on earth. Everybody go home, because that's it. That's all we needed to see. Because no, for real. And I remember like Siobhan interviewed you after you finished, and you didn't seem that flustered. You were like, oh, I mean, yeah, it's hot, but I mean, okay, whatever. It's the challenge that's presented. Nailed it. 25th. Come on now. No, for real. Like I was honestly surprised to see you do that well. And obviously, if you continue that trend, who's to say what could happen next year? Well, this year we don't know what's going to happen in general, but I mean, there's a lot of things that can still happen. And I feel like that's the mindset you have as well as the fans, that we want to see you go. I mean, at least me, I want to see you get back there. I need to see it, and I will see it. I don't know when, but it'll happen.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I would love to get back to the games, but what does kind of help people like me, right, is having more of these sanctionals and stuff like that. And right, like my journey is, yes, obviously, if I can make it to the games, great. But when I'm getting there, I'm like, how can I, winning the competition is like surviving the 10K, you surviving the 10K and like not last and being able to perform through the rest of the competition, right? Like doing those things. And so if I can continue to improve upon that, then I believe I'm still doing like what's right for the sport, if you want to do sport.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. So my following question has to do with self-confidence. It's just as important to have the desire to reach a certain goal as it is to believe you're actually capable of doing it. And one of the sources for self-confidence is past experience. And when it comes to you, several instances come to mind. Like, for example, being the only female to jerk 235 pounds at the 2013 games, setting the world record on the last event at regionals in 2015. You're showing at the finals at the 2015 games. You were the only, I don't know if you know this, but you were the only athlete who won their heat in both events back to back. Cool. That was ridiculous.
I did not know that.
Well, let me tell, both guys and girls, you were the only person to actually do that. So how do these performances help boost your self-confidence and self-belief?
Oh man, I mean, it's so hard, right? Like it's just while the things are happening, of course, you ride the wave and it's like you believe you have the ability, but you almost believe you couldn't do it. You're like, holy crap, you're like, I could do it, but like, holy crap, I did it. Right? And so that just opens up your mind for just like try it, like whatever that is. But then right, it's like you fast forward and you're here, and like I said, those wins aren't as big. So you just have to you have to understand those little pieces, because if you don't understand those little pieces, right, then it's so easy to get lost in like I said, I'm not necessarily making any progress, right? It's like I'm sitting here doing rehab, right? Like that was the reality of it. It was like I'm doing rehab and I can't actually, like, progress is getting back to homeostasis.
Exactly.
But you get in that mindset. And so yeah, so once you get out of that, right, if you're in an injury swing, then it's just like, okay, remembering the things that you have done in the past, and then just like shooting for the things, okay, what are possible now, and those small things that
All right. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah,
build up.
it's exactly. No, yeah, but like that's the thing. Like you were at the peak of your shit, like of your game, and then those things happen. So it's kind of like you mentally also need to reach homeostasis. So it's a challenge in itself, of course. But also I wanted to ask you about goal setting because it helps. Well, it's super important for any athlete because it energizes and guides your resources. So it's extremely relevant to have proper goals, and they need to be powerful also. So I saw in an interview with OPEX that you said you had two goals. One, to become the fittest on earth, and two, to become the best athlete you could possibly be. The former has more to do with the result, and the latter has more to do with the process. So, are these goals ever in conflict? And as of today, which of them is strongest in your mind?
I would say it depends. I would still say it depends. Because yeah, no, I would say I would say at the end, right? If it was the end of my life, I would love to be the the best version of myself athletically, like to really explore all those edges. And where I say it depends on the fittest on earth thing is it's like if we're specifically talking through CrossFit, I'm still unsure. Right, it's like if we're realistic and there's going to be 10Ks, it's like I'm not necessarily sure I'm going to be the fittest on earth, but we also have to explore other avenues, right? And there are things like, right, the IF3 and stuff
Yeah,
like
that's coming up,
that.
and that's interesting for
And
sure. Yeah.
that's technically an international world competition.
Yeah.
So they may not crown it or design it as fittest on earth or whatever, but it's a fitness competition, and if you win, you are
You're the fittest. Yeah. No,
right?
no, it is functional fitness in the end, and there's people from all over the globe. So,
Yes. So yeah, so that could still fill that category. Yeah, so yeah, I just
yeah, for sure.
yeah, so I'm not sure if I answered that question. I'm still
No,
back.
no, yeah, like which one is the one that's like when you're in the dungeon and you're doing sprints on the assault bike or you're running laps on a track field or you're just, just grinding, what comes to mind when you feel like throwing in the towel? Which of those two is the one that fires you up?
Yeah, it's like just having the ability to do it because I can. Yeah, I just don't want to stop. Right? Like I just like
Yeah,
that's like I just want to know to
get it.
myself, like I just don't want to stop. Like this is what's been prescribed, this is what I potentially have the ability to do, and I want to see if I have the ability to do it. And if I
All
don't, I'm
right.
gonna fucking blow up.
Exactly. But okay, so yeah, it makes but you guys well, at least you and Tim, the young I've spoken to, like you guys have that internal drive to just want to be better than you were yesterday, than you were 3 months ago, than you were 5 years ago. So I mean, I haven't
And that's
spoken to
fun to
many.
me. That's the fun to
Yeah,
me.
exactly. Yeah, to be like, oh wow, look at that. I just did, I don't know, whatever. I don't know what you guys compare to, but you like I outperformed myself and I did better than myself. And that's awesome. And in the end, that needs to be your competition throughout the year, right? Because once you reach the actual competition, then you can gauge off other people. But when you're alone training for the entire year, the rest of the year, you need to find that fire that I want to beat myself. I don't want to beat anyone else right now. Right now, I just want to beat myself. So that's cool to hear. That's awesome.
Those other people, right? Like at competition, those other people, yes, you want to beat them, but it's right, but like but it's still asking yourself,
Mm.
right? You're like, oh, that person's slightly in front of me. Do I have that in me? And then when you're done, and if you
Right.
achieve that, you're like, oh, I do have that in me.
Yeah.
Right. And then also the icing on the cake is, oh yeah, I beat them.
Yeah, I beat all of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, 'cause, like just the pedal to, I don't know if you remember the pedal to the metal 2, the second one.
Yes.
That Camille got, like, she got in front of you on the, she was in front on the rower, on the bike, but on the deadlift, like zero hesitation. You just stepped up, did like this, and boom, just started cranking them out, and you slowly just passed her. Like in your mind, that has to be like, oh yeah, this is awesome.
Oh man, I'm so geeked. I'm sweating. I'm there.
Training's
I
gonna go awesome today.
I like, it's like I just imagined it happening and just did it. Like it's like something opened up and it was like, here's your opening. It's like, if you don't take this right now, it was like, I remember, I don't know if I was watching her on the bike, on the rower, but I was definitely watching her on the bike. Like I was watching her judge and stuff like that. And I remember I don't know if I remember the specifics in my head, but like I definitely remember, like I was just like thinking and strategizing like as I was on that bike. Wow. And as it was coming, I was just like, oh my God, okay, it's happening. And it's just it's just like, right, it's like don't fucking put this down. And then of course the crowd, right, you get all adrenaline. And
I mean, the tennis stadium is awesome,
right? And then you turn around and again it's like, right, you're like, holy crap. He's like, I can do that. I'm capable of doing that.
All right. So to wrap this whole thing up, I have a last questionnaire for you. It's 5 questions, right? I don't want you to give it too much thought. I just want to, whatever comes to mind first, bang, shoot. All right. Does that sound good?
Okay.
All right. First question. The world depends on you and a partner of your choice to complete unknown physical tasks, going anywhere from a 1-rep max snatch to a vertical kilometer race. Who do you pick and why?
Anything?
Anybody.
It's CrossFit?
It's whatever. It can be anything. Well, I mean, yeah, technically speaking, it could be, but yeah, they could make you, I don't know, jump off a building and do whatever, any physical task, or drag a truck, or I don't know, anything.
Any physical task. I'm like, because I've been, especially because I've been just kind of, because of the times, been geeking out on her a little bit more, but I would pick Elizabeth Akinwale because we're on the CrossFit.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, she would definitely be my apocalypse buddy.
Yeah, okay. Oh man. Such a beast.
Yeah. Right? She works. Yes. She works, she gets shit done, she's real, and I believe that if it's,
she would save you. And she's a mom. She would save the crap out of you. Yes. Oh yeah, for sure. All right. I agree 100%. Second question. Consistent top 10 finishes at the games for several years, or win the whole thing once but never go back?
Oh, that's so hard.
Tim said it was hard too.
I think my younger self would have wanted one and done.
Yeah.
I think I want a trend, right? I want a career. It's more about the career, right?
Yeah. To be there several times and be like, yeah. And also in your case, I think it makes sense because you owe it to yourself. You owe yourself those years on the floor and being like, okay, I'm back. I made it. It's true. All right. If you could only do one workout for the rest of your life, which one would it be?
Fran or Diane?
Oh, really?
Yeah, why not?
Oh, yeah.
Less than 3 minutes.
What is wrong with you, Fran? What? Oh,
they both hurt, but it's 3 minutes. You're done.
Fran. Oh yeah, 3 minutes for you. You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the rest of us take forever.
You said for me.
Yeah, I'm not. Oh, yeah, that's true. All right, you're right. You're right. But I'd put a heavy barbell or chest to bar Fran or do something. Come on now, Fran. All right. Next question.
Max clean and snatch.
Yeah, something ridiculous. Just something crazy. Of course. Come on. All right. If you could have a training session with anyone, dead or alive, real or fictional, CrossFitter or not, who would it be?
I have no idea.
You could say Goku, G.I. Joe.
Oh, I'm like,
Sergeant.
I'm like, I don't have that big of an imagination.
Sergeant O'Neill. Your mom.
I
I don't know.
I'll work out with like maybe like Bruce Lee.
All right, Bruce Lee. Oh yeah, okay. Oh, that'd be fun. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
All right. All right. And last question: if your career ended tomorrow for whatever reason,
Yeah.
which competition would you say best represents Amanda Goodman as a CrossFit athlete? Competition or event? I don't care. Whatever you want.
Okay. Like any event that I won.
Oh, okay. That could be, yeah. Well, I think the coolest one was the muscle up clean ladder at regional.
I was gonna say, if it's specific to CrossFit, I would say the muscle up clean ladder. If I would say like who I am as an athlete, like what represents that, I honestly think it was grid.
Oh shit! Okay.
Right, like grid was, yes, you had to have a sense of aerobic capacity, right, and right, we were learning all as it was happening. So it was like in retrospect, it was like, man, it was like some of the best gridders are actually really good CrossFitters.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right? Because they have the capacity to do so. Right, because I thought I was going to be a specialist, and I ended up being a little bit more of a generalist, right? Because it's skills. It's skills and heavyweight. So yeah.
So yeah, that was your shit.
So I was able to do everything, right?
So, well, that was all. I hope I didn't take up too much of your time. And I wanted to thank you again for agreeing to do this. This was amazing. And also learning more about your story. I feel like the CrossFit community needed it. At least me. I needed to know what happened and what's the state. I mean, what are you doing now? What's in the future for you right now?
I mean, I'm still kind of in limbo right now. I can tell you what my plan was.
Okay.
But yeah, my plan was to go through this year and compete at a couple sanctionals. Unfortunately, that got canceled. So I've just been, dealing with the pandemic as everybody else, just trying to stay fit in the garage. But yeah, I just right now, with the state of CrossFit and everything like that, nobody knows really what things are looking like. So if the CrossFit, looks like an option, then I'll probably train for the back end of the season again, right? No reason to change that there. And then if CrossFit is a no-go, I'll be looking
to like the International Functional Fitness.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to do the online. I was prepping to go to the live, but again, with everything being whatever, I'm unsure in this moment if I'm going to compete in the online this year. But I would definitely like to do the live.
But it'll happen along the road. Okay.
Whenever things are live, I'm tired of being in the
this online nonsense will come to an end at some point. As long as people stay in their house and stop being an idiot, we'll be fine at some point.
I understand all the things. We're all in the same spot. I get that, but
well, you want to go out there and kick some ass. Well, that makes sense. It's completely, I understand, and I want to see it too. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Spectators, we live off this. We love it. So. All right, so that was it, Amanda. Thank you so much for doing this. I hope you have a great day, and I hope to see you soon on the floor, kicking some ass.
Yeah. No, like I said, if the sanctionals are still there, I'll be out there.
All right. Well, make sure to come to Madrid.